You are now listening to Sentinel Soundbytes.
So we are live.
All right, welcome back to the Sentinel Soundbytes podcast. We are joined today by two of our juniors, Mr. Rodney Jones and Miss Emory Wilkinson. We appreciate you both taking the time out of class. Rodney, you were just talking off air. You're just in engineering class 1 minute, and then you're sitting here recording a podcast the next. You never know what'll happen at ASCTE. So we're talking with you guys. Both of you are residential students here with us, and that's really the focus of this conversation. We've spent time talking on other episodes about our academics, about our athletics, about everything that goes on in the school, but the res life piece is one that we've not touched yet. So we figured no better place to start than with two students who get to experience it every day. So I'm going to open up and let both of you, one, introduce yourself, talk about where you're from, who you are, and then two, just a general overview that you've had living in the dorm so far. We're going to go ladies first, and Emory, start with you.
Okay, so I'm from Coleman, Alabama, and we're just about an hour away from here. So I live in the dorms, and I'm a prefect in the dorms, which means I kind of help with student if there's any problems with roommates or just any conflict or just advocating for the student body and basically that kind of stuff in the dorms and in res life. So.
All right, Rodney, introduce yourself.
All right. I'm Rodney. I am from Prattville, Alabama, and I am also in the prefect program. And I just want to highlight the best thing that I've kind of experienced from res life is how much I've grown as a person.
So we're going to really pick apart the res life program here, and I'm going to turn the clock back to you guys, your first year coming into ASCTE, getting ready to move into the dorms. Just in a very general, and Rodney, we'll start with you on this one. What it has been versus your expectation, if you can remember back that first move-in day and what it is now compared to what you thought it would be.
I thought it would be kind of systematic, but when I got here, I realized that it's more open and free. And one thing to highlight that is the res life events. I didn't know we had those before I came here. And when I came here, I was just wowed by the residential program and how we're able to basically live here like it's our own home.
Sure. So you're not regimented, you get to choose to go to different activities and things like that. Emory, same question to you.
So before coming here, I was really shy. And I remember I was really excited to come to res life. But I was really, really nervous and I wouldn't find my group of people. And the first day that I got here, one of the staff members greeted me and was like, "Hey, Emory, we're so excited to have you here." And I just felt really welcomed. And then we got moved in and I kind of just had a bunch of freedom, I guess. I thought that I would have to put in I would have to have permission to go off campus with my parents. But my parents just told Miss Cundiff, "Hey, can we take Emory to go to Target to get some things for her dorm?" And she was like, "Yeah, you're good." So I kind of thought that it would be stricter, I guess.
Sure.
And it does have structure, but there is more freedom. And then that first week we had a foam party and there was a bunch of dancing and a bunch of music. And I came from a place where it was I came from homeschooled. So it was kind of just me and not being able to have that social aspect. And I really enjoyed that in res life.
I love that. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I want to talk, let you guys talk to now someone that was sitting in your shoes a couple years ago that may be a student or a prospective family that's considering making this move, coming to ASCTE, and they're unsure about the dorms and what residential life looks like. What do you wish that you could go back and tell Rodney Jones getting ready to move in? Kind of one of those, if you knew them what you know now deal, what would you tell yourself to, give yourself a little better idea of what you were getting into?
On a serious note, I would tell him you don't need to pack a lot of stuff. But on a more serious note, I would tell him that everything's going to be okay and that the dorm really has a support system in place from the staff to the prefects. There's just support all around and you have nothing to worry about coming here.
We're going to revisit that support piece for sure. But Emory, same question to you. What do you wish you could tell yourself back then?
Well, my answer is kind of like Rodney's, but I would just kind of tell myself that you're taking this big risk and to be proud of myself for that, and that there are going to be some struggles because you're obviously living with people that you've never lived with before.
Sure.
And you've never known before, but just getting to know people and having that social aspect would like really do me good.
So I'm going to steal one of Rodney's points. He mentioned the word support. One thing that the school tries to do a good job of is giving you resources as a residential student because you are away from home. What are some of those things, and Emory, we'll start with you on this one, that what are some of those resources that have meant a lot to you? You don't have to necessarily touch all of them, but like what are some of the ones that have really meant something to you in your time here?
So one of the things that I really enjoyed, so the Res Life office is like on the first floor. And most of the time, if they're not in like a meeting, Miss Cundiff and Miss Taylor have like their door open and they have like a couch that you can go and they have some pillows you just hug. And like if you need to talk about anything or just like explain like what's going on in your life, have a little catch up. And I really like the support from Miss Cundiff and Miss Taylor.
Yeah. So, and also I'll mention, we also have a dorm parent program that those people are just available for you. Talk about, and Rodney, I'm going to same question to you, but then also carry on to that like dorm parent and having the relationships with those men and women and kind of what that means to you. But certainly start with, the resources that mean the most to you.
The resource that means the most to me is definitely the prefect program. I keep talking about prefect, but I want to talk about a story of when I actually first came here. We had lunch in the cafeteria, and this was after our parents had left, and I was sitting by myself, and then a student by the name of Ryan Graham came and sat in front of me, and then our friendship just bursted from there, and we are still very close friends to this day. So definitely having the prefects as a little like come out of your shell sheriff report piece is definitely the best. But then the dorm parents are also wonderful. My first dorm parent experience was probably with Miss Dupree. She's hilarious. She's very kind, very funny, very supportive. And anytime that I've had any problems or anything, I could just bring it up to her and we just sit down and talk about it. And she's just been very supportive.
Do you guys remember, as you were getting ready to, I'm sorry, I'm having you reflect on a lot here, but as you were preparing to come here and making the decision to apply to come to school, do you remember those conversations with your family, maybe regarding moving away from home and how, difficult of a decision that is and a sacrifice that is? Do you, if you recall and don't mind sharing kind of pieces of that, because what we hope is that there are families listening to this that are having those same conversations, and it is hard and it is a sacrifice. So just wanted to give you guys a chance to share your experience and then, what it's meant to you after making the decision to be here. So Rodney, we'll start with you on this.
All right. So, it was just me and my mom before I left, and I told her about this school, and she was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds nice." And I applied, and when I told her, like, I got an interview for it, she was like, "Oh, okay, this school is still cool." And I don't think she still fully grasped the concept of the school yet. And then when I told her I got in, she was like, "What?" And so we had a conversation. She was just really nervous about letting me go, I would say, because it's just been me and her for like the longest, and
Sure.
letting her go, like me going there, she would like be by herself and stuff like that. And so I would say she was literally just scared to let me go. But after talking and seeing what the school had to offer, she knew that it would be the best decision for me to go.
And for those that are maybe in that instance where like, hey, it's hard to let go or letting go, you get ample opportunity to go home, I would imagine. Like I know one thing that Mr. Massey's talked about on another episode is once a month we send the residential students home, and we run buses all over the state. So do you jump on the bus and go to Prattville and get dropped off? So you get transportation provided, get dropped off right at home. So those opportunities are there. You're not stuck here. Emory, same to you. Do you kind of remember those original conversations and what that was like and how it went? Do you care to share any of that with us?
Yep. So my parents are really supportive about everything that we want to do. And obviously, when we were first talking about it, we talked about it for like a year, basically. So I learned about the school when I was a freshman, but I decided to apply when I was a sophomore because I did want to see what like the normal high school experience was. I wanted to see like what high school was even about.
Sure.
And my parents supported me in that. And then throughout, I determined that like I've got that high school experience. So and I wanted to like do something different because I really enjoyed it, but I wanted to have like a different experience.
Sure.
So I talked to my parents about it, and of course they were really, really supportive. And my mom works in Madison, so she would always be close. And of course they were going to be sad that I was going to be leaving home, but they supported me no matter what. So
Well, and both of you talk about moving home, and one thing that I love is that you guys are not necessarily handheld through the process. You kind of get here and it's, hey, do your laundry, wake yourself up, and talk about now as you reflect on after being here for a couple of years, just the importance of that, those life skills that you've learned, those social skills that you've learned, and just some highlights of because you are in this residential program that you maybe wouldn't have got at home, albeit nicer, a little easier style of life, some things that you've kind of learned and picked up on that you might not have gotten at home.
One of the things that I definitely picked up here was how to do your laundry, of course. I did my laundry a little bit before I came here, but then when I came here, it was like, oh, you have to do all of it, obviously. And so I learned the different settings on the wash machine. Oh, you wash this on cold, wash this on high, wash this on delicate. And so that's definitely a life skill that is benefiting me. But another life skill that has also benefited me would be the ability to like, communicate with your roommate when there's conflict of any sort. Communication is a really big thing that is stressed here. And one of the things of being in residential life is you definitely get that communication aspect. Sasha.
Emory, same to you.
So the biggest thing that I learned, which I don't think is often talked about enough, is so every weekend we have a store trip. And before coming to ASTE, I didn't go out and like buy my own groceries or like didn't like buy my own food. And I didn't make my own food because my mom did that for me. I think that was one of the biggest things I learned here was how to grocery shop. Because I was kind of doing like laundry's a big thing, and I was doing that like by myself at home, so I already knew how to do that. And then like I think the grocery shopping is the biggest thing that I learned.
There we go. What's your favorite thing to cook now? What's something that you know how to cook or make that you wouldn't have maybe if you had not came here?
Well, I gotta think about that.
Oh, I put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, while you think about it, I want to skip, and I'm going to go back. Rodney, both of you actually mentioned the Res Life events and as being something that really stood out to you guys that you didn't expect. Just, Emory, we'll start with you on this one. Talk about like one or two events that maybe you've taken part in that really stand out or that, I know you guys do we can't cover everything that you've done, but like one or two things that you've done in your time in the Res Life program that stand out to you.
Yep. So my favorite weekend activity is you go to the Havoc hockey games.
Okay, big hockey fan.
I've been to every single one.
Nice.
I love them so much. I really love that. And we also have the bead making nights, like bracelet making, like jewelry making. So I think that would be my favorite.
Yeah, and just to give people an idea, I mean, that's just, there's constantly something. I mean, you talk about every Havoc game, there's a bus going to, and Trash Pandas games, and all these things that you can go. But then also, like that bead making you were talking about is here on campus. They bring someone in for you guys and do kind of that. That's a lot of fun. Rodney, same to you.
So with the Res Life activities, they've definitely exposed me to a bunch of different things, including the hockey game. Before coming here, I'd never been to one in my entire life. And then the first one that I went to was amazing. But probably the most favorite Res Life event that I went on was hiking. Before coming here, I'd never been the person to hike. And then one weekend we had this hiking trip with one of the staff members where we went to Montesano and hiked. And that was just a really cool experience for me because I realized that I actually enjoyed it and wanted to do it more. So
last thing to wrap up, you guys, we talked about being residential students. We have a base here of commuter students as well. And talk about you guys in the prefect world are trying to find ways to integrate those into, because it is truly an experience to be a part of our residential program. Talk about the work that you guys are doing to try to give the commuter students a chance to see kind of what you guys do, some events that you may be hosting that line up. I know last night you guys had the big football game on. So like, what's some stuff that y'all are looking to do to give the opportunity for our residential students and our commuter students to interact, outside of school time? Rodney, we'll let you open up with that one.
So the main way that we do try to achieve that is through our weekend events. So not all of the weekend events are commuter open, but some of the ones we do have are commuter opens and they're on campus. So just a while ago, actually, we had a board game night and it was really fun. We had inflatables outside and we had a bunch of board games inside and the commuters were invited. Some people brought their own games, people were on Switches. And so that's really the way we try to incorporate the commuter students, like with those events. Let's just come on in. So
I love it. Well, Guys, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and share what residential life looks like. I'm sure we'll get a chance to catch up at another point. But again, thanks for taking your time. We look forward to talking to you again soon.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the Sentinel Soundbytes podcast. We are joined today by ASCTE Director of Residential Life, Miss Michelle Cundiff. Miss Cundiff, thank you for taking the time to chat with me.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So we talked about your title. What exactly does that entail? When I say the ASCTE Director of Residential Life, obviously there's a lot of hats there, but kind of explain your role within our school here.
Yes, it is a lot of hats. So my main role is to oversee all things residential life. So I live on campus with my family, and that means that day in and day out, I joke that I'm a boarding school lifer. And so I'm overseeing the weekend activities, our dorm parents, our student experience, and our leadership. So pretty much soup to nuts, you name it, I'm in there.
So we're here on the campus of ASCTE. You have been the Res Life Director since this building came up and since we started here. Talk about what drew you to ASCTE and you can kind of weave in your past, your background a little bit. I know you have some time in boarding school, so kind of talk about where you've been and then what led to you being here at ASCTE.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I kind of joked before, I feel like I'm a boarding school lifer. So this is my 11th year working in boarding schools. Most of my background is in the independent school world. I've lived on campus and ran residential life, done programs, all of those things throughout my career. And the thing I really love about ASCTE is that although mainstream boarding is a really great experience, you have international students, kids from all over. I love that ASCTE allows students to get ahead that would have not had this opportunity otherwise. So we're taking kids from across the state of Alabama, and I get to pour into that independent school experience, that community, and all those things that I love about it, but put it towards kids who may not have had this opportunity otherwise. So that drew me here.
Sure. Well, talk about, I guess right now to start it, how many kids are we have hanging out in the dorms with us? Kind of give people an idea of what the residential life program looks like as it stands today.
So as it stands today, we have about 110 students who live on campus with us. And we also have a lot of commuter students that are hanging out after school and on the weekends. So it kind of looks different every day.
There you go. Well, I know we talked about with the students, you guys making an effort to blend those lines and give the commuters some chance to see what you guys are doing, albeit it is a special experience to be a residential student. Talk about the importance of that, of blending that commuter and residential community as much as you can.
Yeah, I think it is absolutely essential. So I'm blessed to have an associate director who is absolutely amazing, and my right-hand woman could not do the dorm experience without her. And she plans all of our weekend activities, which does include our commuter and residential events. So we target to have at least one or two of those a month where we invite commuter students on campus, whether that's game nights, bonfires, things like that. During the weekdays, commuter students can stay after school for a few hours and hang out with the boarding school kids. But it's absolutely essential to make sure we're all one community, whether you live here or not.
Sure. We, in the state of Alabama, the boarding process is a little foreign. There's not, I don't think there may be one other boarding school in the state. So it's something that's foreign to people of our state as they hear about it. If you don't mind, if you were speaking to a prospective family who's watching this or listening to this and maybe has some nerves on I'm going to send my high school student to live away from home, what would you tell them just on an overview of, getting them introduce yourself and talk about what you guys do and why their kid is going to be safe, protected, and known here at ASCTE?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, that definitely is a difference coming from independent school world where families are kind of coming to the school for boarding. I always tell families that it is amazing to watch students grow in their executive functioning skills and their way they interact with in a community. There's something that's really valuable as a high school student right before you're going to college about getting to live and learn, but especially that live piece with someone who doesn't look like you, doesn't sound like you, doesn't maybe share the same values as you. And so you learn to navigate some of those rocky roads that typically, right, high schoolers are not doing that. They're kind of in their same town. If everybody looks like them, they know them. So this really pushes them out of their comfort zone. It fosters that independence. And they're in a really supportive community here where, of course, I joke all the time, the parent is still the parent, even if you live on campus, but they have a bunch of trusted adults. So we have dorm parents, RAs, our faculty and staff pour in. So they're getting so much more support being a residential student than they would at maybe a mainstream high school.
So you mentioned the phrase, the dorm parents. Just talk a little to their role in this process and what a kid who says, hey, this is my dorm parent, what they should expect of them, why they're there, why they're important, and just educate us on that dorm parent role and what they're providing.
Yeah, so our dorm parents are a team of individuals that live in the dorm, and their full-time sole responsibility is just taking care of residential students. So they are working that after-school kind of overnight hour and weekends, and their whole function is to support students. So whether that's working through a social issue or helping them get to a doctor's appointment, all the things that you would think maybe parents would be doing after the school hours, our dorm parents are there to pour into that support role.
Yeah, and I know one thing that our kids love is that you guys are constantly offering activities for them to do. So it's not just you would think living at school. It's not leave school, go to your room. You can't talk about like the work that goes into planning that and what your guys' thoughts on or what you're wanting to provide those kids. Because I mean, I've seen you take them from everywhere to hockey matches to pottery classes to everything in between. So kind of talk about what that programming means to you and what you're trying to accomplish in it.
Yeah, so like I shared, our associate director plans all of our weekend activities. She does an amazing job. She has a student council, so that student council helps guide her in what activities we should plan. They do a great job making sure we have a good mixture, like you said, of hockey games. It's the mall, some cultural events, some Huntsville-specific events. So it really is a pretty, I would say, rich, diverse programming that touches on a lot of points.
Sure. Another point that you mentioned earlier was support, and I know that's a word that gets thrown around a lot in our school because you do have kids away from home and we're trying to support their growth and support their development. Talk about what you guys do in unison with like our counseling department and student life services as a whole that marries the line of being a student and being a res student, and how you guys take care of those who are, not at home and maybe don't have those resources for outlets that they would maybe with mom and dad or sibling or whoever it may be.
Our residential team works really closely with student services, obviously with the dean of students and with our counselors for that holistic support. So, for example, if somebody maybe is falling asleep in class, well, is there something happening at the dorm? Are they late to their morning medications? Maybe their roommate's keeping them late up gaming. So it's really essential that we're all communicating and vibing on the same wavelength. That way we can holistically support that student.
So you are constantly in communications with what's going on in the school building. It's not just, you don't know them just as who they are in the dorm, but you know them as who they are here and there and able to kind of meet needs where they are.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So with that, one that I know gets brought up a lot is students now in their mental health, and that's a big deal. We talk about our counseling department and how important it is that we have those full-time licensed mental therapists here. What role did they play with the residential life and knowing that kids have somewhere that they can go to if they have those conversations that they need to have?
So our, obviously, like you said, mental health is such a big thing right now in kids and the world and all of us adults too, right? So we do work really closely with them. Like I said, on those nights and those weekends when our dorm parents are plugging in, our counseling staff is available too if we would need to call them in an urgent situation. And even just the day-to-day, if a student needs a support plan, our counselors would help pour into that, like I said, to support that student holistically.
All right, so recently you and Miss Blair traveled to Boston, and as we talk about student resources, and particularly our counseling department, and you guys went to the NCSSS conference and spoke on the One Trusted Adult, which is the concept we use here. Kind of educate us on what you were sharing with others as far as what we're doing here that makes us unique and what people are wanting to learn that we're doing so well.
Yeah, a big highlight for us is that although we are doing amazing things at this school, right, as it relates to cyber and engineering and merging those two together, Beth and I really focused on what we do outside of those things. And I think just from my perspective, that is hugely what makes us so unique is our student support. So Beth and I were presenting on the fact that, mental health in general is a big buzzword. It's, we do have a very demanding curriculum here. And so what do we do outside of our curriculum to support those students, right? Because regardless of where you're coming from, you're going through something. So the thing that we presented on was our advisory program. And we've really taken pride into train our staff at the staff level about how to make connections with kids, how to have good boundaries, and then also how do we train our student leaders to do that with their peers. And then how do we bring that all together in advisory on a weekly basis and how essential that is for us. It's a non-negotiable that we do every week, and we really think it's important.
So a great segue there as you're talking about the student involvement. One program that you've established in our dorms is the dorm prefects, which is I'll let you kind of explain what that is and the importance of it. And then I got a couple questions because we actually interview a couple of your prefects at some point. So kind of talk about what the prefect program is and the importance that it has.
Yeah, so our prefect program, I know I've said this about everybody I've talked about, but they're essential to making the dorm run as smoothly as it does. So obviously we have our dorm parents that are providing a huge level of support for our students, but students also need peer-to-peer support. And so that's why we started our prefect program. So that is comprised of 11th and 12th grade students. They can apply. It's a pretty rigorous application process with a video, teacher recommendations, things like that. Once they get selected, they are trained by us. They're also mental health trained by our counselors. And so they can intervene if, students are struggling, and kind of learning that balance of when they need to get an adult and when they can provide peer support. But that has been absolutely essential for us. So students really have a multi-layer of support that they can go to in the dorm.
What is, or what are some things, I shouldn't make it just one. You've spent time at various boarding schools really across the country. What are some things that you feel like make the ASCTE experience unique, and something that a family who may be considering coming here, like, hey, this is a great benefit you're going to get out of this deal past the educational side? Like, there's benefits to being a part of our residential program. So can you talk to both of those?
Absolutely. I think the biggest benefit is just the support you're going to get here. It is unmatched other than, any other school I've ever been at. I have never been a part of a community that cares about kids so deeply outside of just what they're getting on their report card. We really do wraparound support here and care about them, like I said, from soup to nuts holistically. If you're doing great in math, that's awesome, but we also want you to be getting sleep at night and having good peer relationships. So it's the whole package for us.
And that sense of community, I know from spending time in the building that you really push. Our kids are involved in so many things: clubs, athletics, extracurriculars, just if you name it, our kids are getting involved in it. Talk about your role in really supporting all that, whether it's making sure a spirit bus is lined up to go to a game so they can go watch their peers, or knowing that maybe some students have a big drama performance coming up and they're going to be a little on edge about that, and like how you're plugged into really everything in our school, and talk about your role that you feel in supporting all of them.
Absolutely. Our kids are involved in so much stuff, and it is absolutely awesome. Again, that dorm parent support role, our team, our residential life team, which is comprised of many people, that's what keeps it going. That's what keeps it all organized. We, circle up every day. We're talking about who needs to go where, what we need to make happen, the spirit buses, saving to-go meals, all the things. So it really takes the whole team every day to keep the train going.
And you talked about meals. I know that's a big thing, little out of your field, but one thing people go, I'm going to be living in a dorm, so what am I going to eat? We have a whole cafeteria in the bottom. And those kids get access to what? It's 3 meals a day and then 2 on the weekends. Is that right? So you have a brunch and dinner. So you're going to eat plenty of good food while you're here.
You are. And outside of Flick Dining, we also have plentiful of snacks.
Snacks stay on deck.
There is always food on deck, yes. At events, in the Res Life office, no one is going hungry.
All right, Ms. Cundiff, I know one thing that is happening if you look outside is all kind of construction taking place here, which can be inconvenient in the moment, but there is a great convenience that comes from it in the long run. And talking in as we're building a new soccer field, and we're building the Sentinel Center, which will be a multi-purpose facility. Talk about the importance of having those things on campus as the Res Life director, maybe some opportunities it opens up for your students, and just what that means to have these new facilities coming onto campus.
Yes, I think we're kind of in the growing pains state right now. But like you said, it will be worth it, and it is absolutely essential to making our campus an even better experience for residential students. I'm so excited for the Sentinel Center and to be able to host open gym on campus.
Sure.
So just having those other buildings on campus for students that we can host events in or host people coming is going to be really amazing.
Well, another building that has recently been talked about is a new dorm building. So the ability to add 150 so new beds. Talk about what that means. And as you think about that and you hear that, obviously it means a lot of work. And but what kind of comes to your mind as you hear the possibility of 150 more and just more space, and what that means to you?
Yes, I'm so excited. I think most importantly, just opening up more spots for kids in Alabama to come. Like I said, that was a huge push for me to come to ASCTE, is to welcome students from all walks of life that maybe wouldn't have had these opportunities otherwise. And so it's very exciting to think about just opening up that opportunity to so many more students. Obviously, with more students, we can do more things. We have more staff support. So I'm excited about it.
More people, more space.
More people to love.
There you go. I love it. What are, as you think back over the years, some events events that you guys have done that really stand out in your mind? Whether it's you went somewhere, you did something on campus, what are some of those, obviously you're picking your own work a little bit, but a couple of those events that stand out of, man, this is really unique or a really great experience for our kids?
I would say some of my favorite events, and I feel like that are the most memorable, are honestly the ones we host on campus that are like cultural events. So if we're celebrating Spanish Heritage Month, those events are always really cool, and to have, students pouring into that and planning that and kind of making their own. Ms. Taylor does a great job of bringing in, local artists that represent that culture to pour into our students. And I think that's really special and really enriching.
Last thing to speak to, say you're speaking to that mom or that dad who's really anxious of letting their child go, and they're going to a boarding school. Those things exist and they're real, but talk a little bit of how we're structured. You're not never going to see your kids. You have access to them. Talk about kind of your philosophy behind what, access parents still have to their kids, everybody, can I come have lunch with them? Can I come what's your viewpoint on that? And kind of speak to maybe that prospective family who's got some nerves of, no, we're going to give you time to see your child and what that looks like.
Yes, you do still have to see your child. Yes, we will make you take them. We encourage parents to be super involved as much as, they can be in their kids' life. But in tandem with that, we do want parents to encourage their kids to be self-starters, advocate for themselves. That's a huge benefit of also being at ASCTE, right? We're preparing students for internship, and so we want them to have those skills. But parents are still their parents, and we want them to be involved. I always tell parents, if you're nervous about sending your kid or you're worried, they may not call you again, I'm here to support the students, but I'm also here to support the parents.
Sure.
And I also am here to support the parents supporting the students. So even if something goes awry or the road gets rocky, we're in it together and we're going to get a plan.
And it's not, one thing that I got to witness this past fall, it's not just dropping your kid off and waving and good luck. We have a whole launch process that takes the parent and the child through some stuff, and you guys have designed a great program to kind of ease into the parting. But again, any just points to those families that are making that decision and go, man, this is hard because it is unique to our area. Any points to continue that you haven't touched or maybe I haven't asked about that you would speak to on that?
I think just most importantly, parents, you guys know your kids, right? You know your kid better than I do coming in. And so just understanding that residential life is a really awesome experience. It's rewarding. They're going to learn a lot, but it is not for everybody. And so I think having that family discussion of if you're ready for your kid to, live a couple hours away from you or live on campus, I think it's really hard when students are not ready and
Sure.
they come to campus.
Sure.
That's where typically things, might go a little bit south.
And when you say ready, those kind of go both from a function, but also from a social standpoint, I would imagine as well. What are I said that was the last thing, but one more thing I wanted to touch. The social aspect of living in the dorm is very fascinating to me. And you talked about you're subjected to students from different walks of life and different backgrounds in different places. What would you say, how do you gauge if someone's ready for that? Like if you're a parent sitting, I don't know if my kid's ready to do that. What does that look like? I mean, I know it's different. There's not one clear cut, but what does that kind of look like for you when you see someone and go, oh yeah, they're ready to handle this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think first and foremost, do they want to do it?
Yeah.
Right? Because even if you don't have all the skills mastered or you need to grow in some areas, if you want to be here and you want to do the work, we can work with that. We can work with anybody. But I think, just from an executive functioning level, there is not someone waking them up for school every day. There is not someone sitting them down and, making them do their homework or making them go get their medications. So I think just knowing your student and knowing, hey, they're ready to be a little bit more independent.
Sure.
And they can handle that. And I think socially, like I mentioned, there are students from all walks of life here. Obviously, living in the dorm, you're kind of around that all the time. So just being ready to embrace that and have the ability to change your perspective.
Sure. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today about the Residential Life program and what you can expect. And I know families, if they're curious, can reach out to you. You'd be happy to answer any questions. I know you sit on panels with tours, but you are the ultimate resource when it comes to those that live with us full time. So we appreciate the work that you do and the time that you took with us here today. She is Michelle Cundiff, Director of Residential Life.
Soundbytes.
So we are live.